Hello, I am Julie Anderson, a Senior Transportation Planner in the Transportation Department with the North Central Texas Council of Governments. Today I'm going to talk about our regional bicycle and pedestrian safety education campaign, Look Out Texans. One reason for this campaign relaunch is the increased use of trails since the pandemic last year. As we have seen, trail use by people biking and walking increased 70% last spring. This increased use has continued to be high throughout this past year and this spring. As spring comes, there will continue to be more people on the trails and roadways of North Texas. Additionally, both Dallas and Fort Worth were named a pedestrian bicycle focus city by the Federal Highway Administration due to high crash fatalities. These two events led the Council of Governments to launch the Look Out Texans Safety campaign this spring. The primary messaging for the campaign is people that bike, walk, and drive. Targeted messaging for the campaign was informed by research for the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan. Young adults aged 23 to 33 are most likely to be involved in pedestrian crashes and fatalities, along with minority populations in the region, predominantly being Black residents. Marketing for this year's campaign will include paid advertising with Fort Worth Bike Sharing, Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, DART, and Trinity Metro, in addition to public service announcements with Downtown Dallas Inc. and Downtown Fort Worth Inc. The tips related to walking safety are aimed at people walking and providing them with information on what actions they can take to be safe when interacting with people that drive, such as looking both ways when crossing a street and making eye contact with the driver. The next tip is to remind people to do their part to be seen while walking in dark conditions, such as wearing bright colors or reflective items. Sadly, 80% of fatal pedestrian crashes happen in dark lighting conditions. Our final tip reminder for those walking is to cross in crosswalks. Do so only when the signal has indicated it is your turn, and always cross in front of vehicles, never behind them. As the weather warms up and spring and summer come, remember these tips when you are out walking in your neighborhood. The tips for those biking remind them to stop and yield at traffic signals and stop signs, to always ride in the same direction of traffic, and to be seen with a white light and rear red reflector or light, which is required by state law. These tips will be seen on bicycle kiosks and baskets in Fort Worth. The other focus of Look Out Texans is people driving and how they can interact safely with those biking and walking. The first tip is telling people driving to give at least 3 feet of space when passing a person who is bicycling. We also want to remind people driving to yield to people that are crossing in crosswalks. This tip reminds drivers that most crashes at intersections involve a pedestrian being struck in a crosswalk by someone that is driving. So look out and yield at crosswalks. And finally, a tip to people driving that crosswalks are for pedestrians and to not block the crosswalk. Don't encroach into the crosswalk and look out for people in it. As you are out driving this spring and summer, remember to look out for Texans biking and walking and give them the space and time they need. More information, resources, and tips can be found on the Look Out Texans webpage, lookouttexans.org. There are safety tips for all modes of travel, along with resources for schools to teach biking and walking safety that are TEKS approved. The site also has numerous safety videos for all modes and from around the region. Thank you, and remember to look out for Texans.